Alright, so Google just had their Made by Google 2024 event. So this video is just going to be covering some of the stuff that they announced during that event. I'm not going to be going over things like the new earbuds that they released, so the second iteration or third, I don't know what iteration, and then also the watch. Not going to be covering that either. And I'm actually only going to be covering the 9 lineup. So I don't really want to get into the Fold 2 because I don't think that they're going to be selling a lot of those. And it's still at a pretty steep price. And I don't think that we're really at a point where people are really going to be mass buying folding phones yet, unless it's like the Z Flip. So don't really want to cover the Fold 2 and don't really think it's necessary to cover their watch when they only have one iteration each time and it costs $350. Or the new buds that they release because for some reason they cost more than AirPods. Before I get into the phones, I do want to point out that the Series 3 Pixel Watch might be a little bit expensive at $350, but the Series 2 and the original one can still be bought from third-party websites like Amazon or Best Buy, and they are significantly cheaper. So if you have a Pixel phone, maybe you're just looking for some kind of smartwatch and you don't want an Apple Watch, and you're interested in getting a watch, but you don't want to spend for a kidney, then you can consider getting the original one or the Series 2. Okay, so we got all the phones here, actually in reversing order, because it was really hard to find an image with chronological order. So for this Pixel 9 series, Google's pride and joy was the whole AI thing. So their Gemini, and you know it's a pride and joy because of two things. So the first thing is that this video. So this is obviously not the video that Google put out for their Made by Google 2024. And I'm not looking at it because I don't have time to look through like hours and hours of footage. But one thing I want to point out here, so YouTube has these like bumps, so you can tell which parts of the video where people are watching a lot. So this one's kind of big, and then over here it's kind of big, but I think the biggest one is over here. You might be wondering what's over here, what happens over here. This is where during their live audience events, they actually decided to test the Gemini AI to do a simple task. And you can see here that it's kind of taken them a second. So it's just very slow. And, when you're trying to get an AI or just like, tell Google Assistant to do something, you want it to be done really quickly. And the reason why Gemini was kind of, a joke because during the live demo, it just took it forever to get it working properly. And then there was a time when someone asked it to roast r/pixel phones, which is basically a subreddit where people ask questions all regarding the Pixel. And I think it'll speak for itself. Those are pretty much the best parts that I found about their AI feature. But you let me know if you would get a Pixel, if you would use this feature regularly, or if you just put it in the dust, like Google put the Chromecast in the dust. Let's talk about the cameras. So every time Google does their event and they announce their phones, there are always a handful of people who always wonder how good the new cameras are on the Pixels. And if someone were to ask me this question, I would just give them the same response that I always give, and that is it's better than last year's, but it also costs more than last year's. And we have finally reached the same pricing as iPhones, while also not having the equivalent performance of even an iPhone made 2 years ago. It still takes great photos because that's what Pixel are known for. So if spending $1,000 on basically a camera is your thing, then by all means. All right, let's talk about battery life of these phones. So I have the spec sheet here, but I'm actually not really going to go into that. For some reason, like every big tech YouTuber either didn't talk about battery life, or if they did, then they didn't put chapters in their video. And I'm not going to sit through like several minutes of footage trying to find if a particular YouTuber put battery life information about this phone on their video. So I'm going to put it in my video because I think battery life is super important for a phone, especially when it comes to a Pixel. And I'm also going to put it in a chapter because I think it's ridiculous in 2024 to not have chapters in your videos, especially when they're tech videos. So again, not going to go over the numbers here because if you want to find this information, you can just look it up on this website, on Google's website. And I'm actually not going to give my personal experience with battery life because I do not have this phone, and I am not going to, buy it for a month from Amazon and then, have it calibrated or whatever, however long that takes, and then return it after finding out what the battery life would actually be, because that would be a waste of money, time, and on top of that, each person's battery life is going to be different depending on what your usage is. So that's why it's not going to be from my personal experience, but you can actually just look up people's experiences with the battery life because people just love to post about battery life on the different subreddits, most predominantly the Pixel Phone subreddit. So it seems like the general consensus is that on the Pro XL model, the battery life is super good, which it should be because it's super expensive. And the battery life on the 9 Pro and the regular 9 are inadequate for the people that bought them because they expected more, I guess, from paying at least $1,000 for a phone. So again, your battery life experience may differ greatly from everyone else, but if you're someone who likes to use your phone for lots of gaming or just use your phone for a lot in general, then a Pixel might not be a great consideration anyways because they have never really been known for having good battery life. All right, I'm not going to go over performance all that much, but the TLDR is that if you're a gamer, then probably avoid this phone. And if you don't game, but you like to take a lot of pictures on your phone and you want high quality pictures, then weigh your options because you will get that, but at the same time, you're going to pay the price for it. Let's talk about the, in my opinion, best addition to their phones that Google made, and that is the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. And pretty much what it does is it removes the problems that pretty much all the other Pixels had after the 5A, so the 6 to the 8, because they had pretty bad fingerprint sensors. So the ultrasonic pretty much fixes the problems that those phones had with their fingerprints, where now it's super reliable and super fast. And I would argue that it's actually, even though I haven't tried it, better than the Pixel phones before the 6, so the 5A and below. Even though those phones had a rear fingerprint, which a lot of people did like, I think that I would take the ultrasonic because it's super fast and super reliable, even though it's not on the rear of the phone. There's one more thing that I want to point out regarding the fingerprint sensor, and MKBHD actually put this in his video, and it's a very subtle thing, but I'm glad he put it in because it's actually very useful for people who care about being able to unlock the screen at pretty much any time. So the idea is that you can only unlock the screen if the display is on, which basically means that you can only unlock it at any time if AOD is on. And he pointed out that uh, it would be nice if you could unlock it when the screen is off, like how it is in Samsung phones. But I think that it's a good start for Google, like being able to unlock it if AOD is on at any time. But hopefully, in future phones, Google will make it such that you can unlock it when the display is off rather than if only AOD is on or only if you get a notification that will turn the display on. So that's going to be it regarding what I thought about the Google event for 2024. If you have any questions regarding anything that I didn't cover, then feel free to leave it in the comments. And thanks for watching.